Good morning. We are continuing the story The Rat Trap. This is very exciting and interesting story. We already studied the first part of this story. So we are going to continue where we have stopped. This story is written by popular Swedish writer Selma Lagerlöf. She received the Nobel Prize for Literature. She was the first woman writer to receive the Nobel Prize for Literature. And this is very interesting and exciting story. At the end, let us review whatever we have seen so far. So let's continue this story, The Rat Trap. It was late in December. Darkness was already descending over the forest. So it was the month of December. And therefore what happened? It got dark early. You know that in winter, particularly in the month of December, the days are short. Nights are quite long. So that's why the darkness, it was descending over the forest. Early, it had got dark. This increased the danger and increased also his gloom and despair. So here he has to escape from the forest. But now what has happened? He felt that he was in a trap. He was not able to come out of the forest. He had lost his way. And as a result of that, what has happened? He started feeling gloomy, very sad. He started losing his hope. He was in a hopeless situation, despair, no hope. Opposite of hope is despair. So he had no hope of escaping from the forest. It was getting dark. And finally he saw no way out. So he felt that there is no way out. And he sank down on the ground, tired to death, thinking that his last moment had come. And he was earlier thinking his cherished time past was, the world is a trap. The world is a very big rat trap. But just as he laid his head on the ground, he heard a sound. And what was that sound? A hard, regular thumping. The thumping sound. Some heavy object was beating there. So thumping sound he heard. There was no doubt as to what that was. So he realized what was that sound. He was really tired and terrified, and the thought had come to him that it was over, he would die. But suddenly he heard thumping sound. So heavy objects beating there. There was no doubt as to what that was, and he realized what was it. He raised himself. Those are the hammer strokes from an iron mill. He came to know that those were the strokes of the hammer. There must be people nearby. He summoned all his strength. He gathered all his strength. He got up, staggered. He was struggling to walk in that. That's why staggered in the direction of the sound. So he started moving in the direction of the sound. So he started walking with great difficulty, walking with great difficulty. He started walking with great difficulty in the direction of the sound. The Ramcho Ironworks, which are now closed down, were not so long ago a large plant. So it was a very large plant some time back, but now it has been closed down. But probably the work was still going on. It was not very large plant now, but few years back it was a very big factory. with smelter. And what is smelter? Machine in which metal is melted to form the shape. So when metal is melted, then after that they can give a shape to that. So that machine is used. Rolling mill, then forge, where metal is heated there. That's forge. So in the summertime, long lines of heavily loaded barges. Barges, big ships, flat bottomed boats or ships, you can say, barges, and that will carry freight on canals and rivers. So that will carry iron ore, that will bring iron ore. And scows again boat, flat bottomed boats. So barge is also flat bottomed boat, a ship. Slid down, so it went down the canal which led to a large inland lake, and in the winter time the roads near the mill were black from all the coal dust which shifted down, which came down, so which shifted down from the big charcoal crates. So they which had spread there. So that's why the roads were all black because of the coal dust. So it was one of those long dark evenings before Christmas. So there once this peddler has come, he has seen there. What he has seen there? There was a master smith and he was sitting along the helper there in the forge. It was quite dark there in the forge and he was sitting there near the furnace where the iron was boiling up. So this big iron, they were waiting for that so that they can put there on the anvil. This iron ore which they had put there in the fire, it was getting heated up so that later they can give shape to that. Every now and then one of them got up to stir, so to move that glowing mass, that liquid with iron bar. And so they were taking the turn, dripping with perspiration. So lot of sweat. It was quite hot there. He wore nothing but a long shirt. What was he wearing? It was quite hot. That's why he was wearing a long shirt and a pair of wooden shoes. All the time there were many sounds to be heard in the forge. So a lot of sound was there. And as a result of that, they had not seen him. So what was the sound? Big bellows groaned. So what is bellow? Bellow is a air bag. So that emits stream of air and it is used for blowing air into a fire. So that fire will keep on burning. And then crackling of the coal. So groaning of the bellows. Cracking of the coal. So it was cracking, it was breaking. The fire boy shoveled charcoal into the maw of the furnace. So this helper, what he has pushed that charcoal into the mouth of the furnace with a great deal of, and when it has gone into that, then it started clattering, making sound there, clattering sound. Outside, then there was a roaring of waterfall, and then it was quite windy too. A sharp north wind whipped the rain against the brick tiled roof. So lot of sound it was making. So it was, the rain was whipping what? The windows. Now it was probably on account of all this noise that the blacksmith did not notice that a man had opened the gate and lot of noise was there. And as a result of that, what has happened? He didn't notice, the blacksmith did not notice that there was a man there who had opened the gate and entered the forge. Till the time he stood very close to the furnace. So when he stood close to the furnace, he noticed that a stranger had entered into the forge. Surely it was nothing unusual for poor vagabonds without any better shelter for the night to be attracted to the forge by the glow of light which escaped through the sooty panes and to come in to warm themselves in front of the fire. So it was nothing unusual for poor vagabonds. So who is a vagabond? Vagabond who doesn't have his own home, so homeless, and the one who doesn't have a family. So wanderer, this poor vagabond, and it was quite common that quite often they used to come there, take the shelter. So therefore, it was nothing unusual. So many homeless people used to get attracted to the lights of the forge. So which put peek through the window panes which were covered with a black powder. So here, now this, what was sooty paint? What is sooty paint? Now here paints were covered with what? Soot. And what is soot? Soot is a black powder produced when coal or wood is burnt. So it's a black powder. So here window panes were sooty. Means they were covered with soot. They were filled with soot. And to come into warmth, so many people who were vagabonds, who were tramps, they used to come, take shelter. So it was nothing unusual. So the master blacksmith didn't bother much about that. The blacksmith glanced only casual, so casual look he gave, indifferently at the intruder. So the one who was a stranger, who had entered into the forge, he was totally indifferent to him. He didn't bother much about him. He looked the way people of his type usually did, with a long beard, dirty. So he looked a stranger, how those wanderers used to come, how those tramps used to come. So person with a beard, long beard, dirty, ragged clothes, torn clothes, with a bunch of rat traps dangling, hanging on his chest. He asked permission to stay. He wanted to stay for a night. The master blacksmith nodded a hearty consent. He gave a consent, he agreed to that, but very proudly, haughty, arrogantly, without honoring him with a single word. He didn't say any word, he didn't say anything, but just he agreed, okay, fine. The tramp did not say anything either because he was used to that kind of treatment whenever he is to go for getting shelter. He had not come there to talk, but he only to warm himself and sleep. And what this stranger wanted, he wanted to make himself quite warm and get overnight sleep. In those days, the Ramjo iron mill was owned by a very prominent iron master. So this iron master was very ambitious. And what was his ambition? To ship out good iron to the market. He watched both night and day to see that the work was done as well as possible. And that's why he used to take rounds even at night. At this very moment he came into the forge on one of his nightly rounds of inspection. And who had come there? A stranger had come there. And when he had come there just for a checkup, at that time he happened to see this man, a ragamuffin. Naturally, the first thing he saw was the tall ragamuffin. So here ragamuffin means the person who was in rags, who had eased his way so close to furnace that steam rose from his wet rags. So he had made himself at ease. He had made himself comfortable and he was sitting very close to the furnace. And steam was rising from his wet rags, from his clothes. The ironmaster did not follow the example of the blacksmiths who had hardly designed to look at the stranger. And this blacksmith had not bothered, who had hardly deigned to look at the stranger, who had hardly pretended. Now who had hardly bothered to look at the stranger. He walked close up to him. He went very close to him, looked him over very carefully. Then he tore off his slouch hat to get a better view of his face. So what he has done, he has removed that slouch hat. So that he has removed so that he can have a better view of his face. But of course, it's you, Nils Olof. How you do look, how you are looking, Nils Olof. Now when he says Nils Olof, he is referring to his associate, the one who has been with him. The man with the rat traps had never before seen the ironmaster, at Ramjo and did not even know what his name was. He didn't know about his ironmaster. He was taken aback. He was quite surprised. But suddenly a thought came to him. It occurred to him that if the fine gentleman thought he was an old acquaintance, if he thought that he was his old friend or person whom he knew, old associate, he might perhaps throw him a couple of kroner. He might give him some money out of pity. Therefore, he did not want to undeceive him all at once, and therefore he didn't let him know that he had mistaken him as Nils Olaf. So this peddler has started a conversation with him now. He says, God knows things have gone downhill with me. Things have gone worst with me. Things have been very bad with me. You should not have resigned from the regiment, the ironmaster said. That was a mistake. So he knows about associate that he had resigned from the regiment. If only I had still been in the service at the time, it never would have happened. So both of them were in the army. That's what he was referring to that. But here this tramp was never there in the army. He had mistaken. Well, now of course you will come home with me. But this is a Christmas time. You have to come home with me. He expected that he would give some money out of pity. But now he was welcoming him home to go along up to the manor house, to the large house, big house, palatial house, and be received by the owner like an old regimental comrade. That, however, did not please the tramp. The tramp was not happy with this hospitality. He never wanted that. Probably he felt he was getting into the trap. He thought that he might get the money, but now the trouble was that he was welcome to it, the ironmaster's palatial house, manor house. Now here the rat-trapped sailor feels caught. Now I couldn't think of it, said, looking quite alarmed. So he's alarmed. He never liked this idea of going somebody's house. He thought of the 30 kroner. He was very much frightened with the idea of visiting very big house of this ironmaster. After all, he had stolen the money and was not quite safe. To go up to the manor house would be like throwing himself voluntarily into the lion's den. It was like getting into the den, getting into the trap. He only wanted a chance to sleep here in the forge. He just wanted to spend night there, then sneak away, then secretly move away as inconspicuously as possible. He never wanted anyone to notice that because he had stolen the money. The ironmaster assumed that he felt embarrassed because of his miserable clothing. He thought that his friend was in bad condition. He was not wearing good clothes. Probably he never wanted to come home because his clothes were very bad. Ragamuffin. He was in rags. Please don't think that I have such a fine home that you cannot show yourself there. So you don't worry about all that. After all, you are a friend. Elizabeth is dead. His wife is dead, as you may already have heard. My boys are abroad. His children are abroad. And there is only one at home except my oldest daughter and myself. So there is no one at home. There is only one person. That's the oldest daughter. There is no one at home except my oldest daughter. So only my daughter and myself. We're just saying that it was too bad we didn't have any company for Christmas. And if you come home, we'll be very happy to receive you as a guest during Christmas. Now come along with me and help us make the Christmas food disappear a little faster. So let's have Christmas celebration together. Well, let's see here the question. What made the peddler think that he had indeed fallen into a rat trap? Think over this. Why did the ironmaster speak kindly to the peddler, thinking that he was his old acquaintance and invite him home? Why did the peddler decline the invitation? But the stranger said no and no and again no. So actually the ironmaster was persuading, but he was not ready to go home. So though he made many attempts, Peddler didn't accept his invitation. It looks as though Captain Von Stale preferred to stay with you tonight, Sturgeon Storm. So he tells the blacksmith. He said to the master blacksmith and turned on his heel. So he went away, said that he wants to stay with you, and then this ironmaster has gone away. But he laughed to himself as he went away, and the blacksmith who knew him understood very well that he had not said his last word. He laughed to himself, probably he was thinking about something else, and blacksmith understood that he was trying to hide something. Thank you. Goodbye. It's a very interesting story. We'll continue the story in the next session. Till then, goodbye.